because we're incapable of saying no to certain things. And I'll use this example, and bear with me because it may not come out right. So just take this with a grain of salt. I am by no means racist. I do not believe for an instant that my wife and I have been handed anything personally because we're white. Now, I understand what white privilege is. It's a belief that society has unintentionally or intentionally given advantages to people who are not of color, white, and that people of color have been disadvantaged. Yes, that has been true in given situations, that people of color have been disadvantaged. Wherein the problem, and what I'm talking about with saying no, and I'm not talking about saying no to Black Lives Matter or that situation. I'd be the first one to say that all lives matter. Like when we get into combating racism is recognizing that race shouldn't factor into our understanding of our humanity or our need to treat people equitably. Not simply equally, but equitably. And equitably recognizes that people bring different things to the table. They've got different needs, and therefore they need to be treated differently than the person beside them who brings different needs and wants to the table. All right? Treating people equally means that everybody gets the same thing. Okay, that's great. Here's where I have, and what I'm talking about saying no to. And this is what I mean by, when we're talking about being free to be fully alive or embracing that freedom, is that sometimes you may have to stand up to things that culture's going to go, well, this is great because it's doing a wonderful thing. If it's doing a wonderful thing the wrong way, you're more than welcome to have a dissenting opinion about it. I have no problems with the fact that we need to change how we deal with each other on a racial cultural level, if you will. Not at all. I think there have been people who have impugned other people because of their race or culture unfairly. I don't believe I've ever done it intentionally. Now, if I've done it unintentionally, that's something I have to work on. However, what's interesting to me and what sticks out about this is that I went through this cultural bias training last year. We had it as part of our PA day. And it was interesting because right in the training, it was the fact that making reference to someone's skin color, race, or anything in conjunction with something else is racist. Yet, here we are, and what do I constantly hear from people? White privilege. How is that not statement racist in and of itself? Now, I'm not saying that it's not motivated by the fact that there's been a situation where a culture, a race has been tried to dominate other races for an inherent other reasons. But I don't get how the oppressed culture can be racist, but quote unquote the dominant culture can't be racist because that's worse. Where is that? Where is it the sense that if I speak out about the fact that I don't, just for an example, I don't like natives doing this. I don't like doing that's somehow racist. But if somehow I show up anywhere, right away I've been given white privilege, that's not racist. I can't take offense at that because that's quote unquote because I am white. So I'm a white middle-aged male. I'm the target audience for white privilege. Okay. How can I not take offense at that and call that racist? There's where, when we talk about free to be fully alive, it's not just the fact that you can, and this is what fundamentally bothers me, is maybe there's a bigger fundamental problem here. Um, it goes hand in hand when I hear people talk about cultural appropriation. I don't, and conversely, I don't understand how a third of the music some of you listen to, hip hop and rap, people can toss the N word around left, right, and center, and that's not racist. That's not flawed. Yet if that word leaves my lips ever, I'm on the hot seat for it because it's a racial slur. How is it a racial slur in one way but not in another? Or you're going to tell me, well, it's black people using it? No, it's culturally in North America, we've accepted that word as a no-fly zone. So how is it's a no-fly zone, but the culture that it demeans can be used by that same culture in its music because it means something different to them? Well, how do you know I'm not using it as a white person to mean exactly what that person in that rap song meant or hip-hop song meant? This is what I mean about free to be fully alive, is the fact that we need to be cognizant of the fact that sometimes, despite the fact that it may fly in the face of a good thing, and I'm talking cultural change needs to happen. Cultural change can't happen when the oppressed culture has decided to use the exact same tactics the oppressor used and not expect the dominant culture to react negatively because of an oppression. It doesn't make any sense. It'd be like saying to a 6-year-old, you can't hit your 5-year-old brother because you're bigger and stronger. And ultimately because violence is wrong. But when the 5-year-old turns around and punches the 6-year-old because he thinks the 6-year-old has done something wrong, well, I get it, you're just defending yourself. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense to go, well, it's okay here, but not okay here. By its very nature to go, I can't use the N-word, but somebody of color can use it in a song or use it anywhere because that's wait a minute. Now you're being racist. That's very simple. And yet it's that kind of simple thing that we've looked the other way about because we're somehow so eaten up by guilt that we're incapable of saying, no, I'm not going to accept that. Feel free to push for change, etc., and do whatever, but you can't use that term to push for it because that's just as racist as me saying something about your skin color. Okay, that's where I think we as individuals and as a culture are really bogging ourselves down here. There's a reason why there hasn't been any forward momentum gained with these things, is because we can't be free to say, yeah, we got to make changes, but if we're going to make changes, there's changes have got to be made in a positive way. You can't, I heard this statement, you can't take 3 lefts to go right. It doesn't work that way, and yet that's exactly what we're doing. We're okay with people saying to us, well, that's cultural appropriation, but heaven forbid I turned around and said to a minority group or some other group of individuals, well, you're appropriating something from our culture. Because that's bad. That's where there's the inequity. And if there's going to be an equity, you can't create an equity to create equality. It doesn't work. And that's really what these chapters are trying to focus on, is the fact that to be fully alive, we have to be able to, if we're going to stand up for truth, it's truth. It's not, well, it's true in this situation, but not true in that situation, so we can let it slide. Okay? That's really all we're going to cover in this. That's really should be enough to get you started. Okay? And that's all for this segment. Have a great day.